Let's do this. What's with the quality?
The kind introduction, and I want to start by thanking President Macron for hosting the event and, of course, for the lovely dinner last night. During the dinner, President Macron looked at me and asked if I would like to speak, and I said, Mr. President, I'm here for the good company and free wine, but I have to earn my keep today.
I don't want to be mean, JD, but yeah, looks like he's in a lot of stress, if you know what I mean.
And I, of course, want to thank Prime Minister Modi for being here and for co-hosting the summit, for all of you for participating. And I'm not here this morning to talk about AI safety, which was the title of the conference a couple of years ago. I'm here to talk about AI opportunity.
Skynet.
When conferences like this convene to discuss a cutting-edge technology, oftentimes I think our response is to be too self-conscious, too risk-averse. But never have I encountered a breakthrough in tech that so clearly calls us to do precisely the opposite. Now, our administration, the Trump administration, believes that AI will have countless revolutionary applications in economic innovation, job creation, national security.
Yeah, I don't know about job creation. Like, it's definitely gonna make work easier. Like, from the team out of 10 people, you're gonna need, let's say, team out of 3. 3 people plus AI. Which is definitely good, because like some of the positions are like you have more people than you need to. Let's be honest, even video games, right? Like because of how many employees they have, the game just doesn't fit together because it's multiple teams, multiple people working on this one project, but not communicating properly, not sharing the ideas, nothing. With AI, one guy will be able to program whatever he wants, right, according to his own idea. So quality of life is definitely going to be better. But creating the jobs, I don't know, man. Like it is going to create opportunity. And you just have to catch the opportunity. Like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of jobs that are just going to get abolished, right? Like we're not going to need, like I said, we're not going to need that many people. But if you're creative, if you have some idea, just use the opportunity and you're gonna do well. Like, another thing is, it depends if the government's gonna stand behind it and really go into it with, let's improve the quality of life. Let's create some jobs and stuff like this, then sure. But we all know what the private companies are gonna do, right? It's gonna be more like, oh yeah, so let's fire this whole team and leave one guy with AI. And not every time that's ideal, right? Like I said, I definitely think that some companies are overhiring, some positions are just ridiculous, unnecessary, and the AI will help with it. But yeah, the government must stand on the side of the normal people. But yeah, let's see what else he has to say. We're only a minute in.
Healthcare, free expression, and beyond. And to restrict its development now will not only unfairly benefit incumbents in the space, it would mean paralyzing one of the most promising technologies we have seen in generations.
It's true. And another thing is, like, here on the summit, like, we have all of these, I want to say civilized countries, because then it might sound bad regarding the other country I'm going to talk about, right? But definitely these countries were willing to come in and talk about it. But we still have, I don't know if the Chinese representative is there, right? But you still have countries that are not going to follow any regulations. And if you restrict US, France, UK, all of these countries, guess who's going to go get ahead? And that country that might get ahead might not have regulations or priorities like US or UK, right? So who do you want to be the leader? Do you want China to be leader, or do you want the US to be leader? Do you want it to be in the hands of Europeans, or do you want it to be in the hand of China, or I don't know about Russia and AI, right? I didn't really hear much about that, but like it's about who's gonna get the power. And obviously looking at what Trump is doing right now, it might not be the best idea that US has all the power. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against Trump. I think he's doing great for his own people. He's playing risky game with the tariffs and everything, but he's still thinking about his own people. But if he's gonna have all the AI in his hands, I'm pretty sure the world will pay a lot for that. But again, it's still better when you have someone with some how to say it, regulations, laws, priorities, some kind of, I don't want to say safeguards, but in the end it's safeguards. Like, you need someone who's responsible to create this AI, not someone who's just gonna try to be first and do whatever you want with it, right? So definitely I don't think it's good to restrict all of these first world countries that have like minimum modern day slavery. They have a lot of common sense, like all of it, right? Like, they're really educated. You don't want to restrict these countries from making it and let someone else do it.
Now, with that in mind, I'd like to make 4 main points today. Number 1, this administration will ensure that American AI technology continues to be the gold standard worldwide, and we are the partner of choice for others, foreign countries, and certainly businesses as they expand their own use of AI. Number 2.
It's kind of hard to hear. I currently live in Canada, right? It's kind of hard to hear the word partner with what's going on with tariffs. Again, nothing against Trump. I think he's doing whatever he thinks is best for the Americans, and I think everyone should behave like this. If we had politicians like this in Canada, we would be much better off. Like, this is literally just tip of the iceberg. We're not gonna suffer because of the Trump. We're already suffering because of our lovely Prime Minister Trudeau, which I wonder if he's there or no. Probably because Canada's big country, right?
We believe that excessive regulation of the AI sector could kill a transformative industry just as it's taking off, and we'll make every effort to encourage pro-growth AI policies. And I like to see that deregulatory flavor making its way into a lot of the conversations this conference. Number 3, we feel very strongly that AI must remain free from ideological bias, and that American AI will not be co-opted into a tool for authoritarian censorship. And finally, number 4, the Trump administration will maintain a pro-worker growth path for AI, so it can be a potent tool for job creation in the United States. And I appreciate Prime Minister Modi's point. AI, I really believe, will facilitate and make people more productive.
See, so that's what I'm saying. Like, if Trump's administration's gonna make sure that AI will actually create the jobs, not only abolish the jobs, then everything's perfect. And like he's saying, like, restrictions, and you don't want to kill off AI. Like, there's a future, right? Obviously they're not going to be able to kill it off. Sorry, I'm just going to move my head here. Obviously they're not going to be able to kill it off. Like, it's some other country will come up with that. And like I said, you want the European Union or US to be leaders in this field, because you never know what's going to happen if they're not leaders. I'm not saying they're pure or anything, but still. yeah, anyway, talking about AI, I was lucky to work in a coal mine for 2 months. I drove this huge haul truck, the size of the freaking two-story house, driving on the mountain in Rockies. It was a great experience. I'm not gonna lie. The job was kind of, don't want to say brain dead, but I like to use my brain, so that's why I kind of suffered over there. But the environment, like the mountain view, was great. Called us not so much. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is there was one mine that all of these haul trucks were automized, so AI was driving it, right? You would think that they're gonna need less people, less employees in that coal mine. No, every truck had to have another normal truck, like pickup truck, with at least one driver just observing it, because these AI trucks were not able to recognize if they are able to drive over the rock safely or no. So they just randomly kept stopping. And in the end, that coal mine had even more employees than if you compare it with the same size coal mine with normal trucks. So it's the future for sure, but it's still not on the level that we need it to be. And right now, it's not really abolishing the jobs. And if Trump's administration is gonna make it their goal to progress the AI, but at the same time create the jobs, I have nothing against it. Just go for it. Hopefully all the other administrations are gonna be like this, because we know all of these private sector companies are gonna try to use it to save money, and then people will suffer eventually. So you need to really put it in law or something like that.
It is not going to replace human beings. It will never replace human beings. And I think too many of the leaders in the AI industry, when they talk about this fear of replacing workers, I think they really miss the point. AI, we believe, is going to make us more productive, more prosperous, and more free.
Yep.
The United States of America is...
I mean, again, a fear of replacing the workers. Like, they're just saying it for the public, man. Like, then come up with universal basic income, UBI, right? Then everyone will be okay being replaced. Like, I remember growing up, we were dreaming about a time when we don't have to go to work and robots will do all the work for us and we're just gonna enjoy our life. And now you hear them when we're very close to that point. And you hear government being like, well, we fear that it's going to replace the workers. Let's be honest, if it's going to replace workers, it's better. Like, the worker that gets replaced by AI is probably not a good worker, or the AI does better job. So you should either look into how they can coexist, like AI and workers, or universal basic income. Here we go. Done. And don't say bullshit like, oh, we're afraid. No, just do something about it.
The leader in AI, and our administration plans to keep it that way. The U.S. possesses all components across the full AI stack, including advanced semiconductor design, frontier algorithms, and of course, transformational applications.
Yeah,
now, the
they're
computing
stacked,
power this
man.
stack requires is integral to advancing AI technology. And to safeguard America's advantage, the Trump administration will ensure that the most powerful AI systems are built in the U.S. with American-designed and manufactured chips.
That's big W. If they can do it, that everything's going to be built in the U.S., that would be great. Like, for the last, I don't know how many years, I think like 10 years since I started just thinking about it or paying attention to it. Like, it's just crazy how US manufactured everything in China. Like, I get it's because of the cost, right? But then at the same time, you're giving them all the technology you will have. And look, now they're pretty much technologically up there. And why? Because they got everything from US, UK, all over the world. And they didn't have to do anything, just manufacture their stuff and learn from them. So if they can do everything in the US, that's going to be big.
Now, just because we're the leader doesn't mean we want to or need to go it alone, of course. And let me be emphatic about this point. America wants to partner with all of you. And we want to embark on the AI revolution before us with a spirit of openness and collaboration. But to create that kind of trust, we need international regulatory regimes that fosters the creation of AI technology rather than strangles it. And we need our European friends in particular to look to this new frontier with optimism rather than trepidation. Now, the development of cutting-edge AI in the U.S. is no accident. By preserving an open regulatory environment, we've encouraged American innovators to experiment and to make unparalleled R&D investments. Of the $700 billion, give or take, that's estimated to be spent on AI in 2028, over half of it will likely be invested in the United States of America.
Project Stargate, did you guys hear about it? That's crazy. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, he's saying, yeah, you're welcome to work on it with us, but it's gonna be according to our rules, which I get, right? Of course. But what's scary is that Trump's there for 4 years. What's gonna happen after that? Look how crazy Democrats are. Like, in 4 years, it can be all different. Like, I was thinking about it just yesterday, that in 20 years, I'm gonna tell my kid that we had this crazy time where when you saw a guy on the street, you didn't know what pronouns you should use, right? Now it looks like it's going away, but it might come back in 4 years. Like, you never know. You saw how Trump left his first administration and what Biden did in those 4 years, how the world have changed. And we didn't even realize because of so many changes, right? Like, COVID happened that took our attention away. And then once the COVID eased, out of nowhere, everything's different. So, like, there needs to be something that will protect the future as well, not just these 4 years, but abusing this power like the AI in the future as well. Like, they need to make sure that nothing's gonna go sideways.
Now, this administration will not be the one to snuff out the startups and the grad students producing some of the most groundbreaking applications of artificial intelligence. Instead, our laws will keep big tech, little tech, and all other developers on a level playing field. Now, with the President's recent executive order on AI, we're developing an AI action plan that avoids an overly precautionary regulatory regime while ensuring that all Americans benefit from the technology and its transformative potential. Now, we invite your countries to work with us and to follow that model if it makes sense for your nations. However, the Trump administration is troubled by reports that some foreign governments are considering tightening the screws on U.S. tech companies with international footprints.
Like, I feel like the only regulation should be that AI shouldn't go against human. Like, call me crazy, right? Skynet and everything. Like, you shouldn't be able to weaponize AI. But then again, thinking about it, you have all of these countries that are not on this summit. You have these countries that will not follow these regulations. So someone will weaponize it, and you better be ready. So yeah, I don't really know what regulations you want, because there's going to be someone who's not going to follow it, like the Climate Act, right? Like, it's nice if Europe and the US and Canada will start fighting against carbon footprint. But then you have some other countries that are worse than pretty much the whole Europe, whole Canada and US. What are you going to do about it? Like, you can't do anything. So pretty much the same thing with AI.
Now, America cannot and will not accept that. And we think it's a terrible mistake, not just for the United States of America, but for your own countries. The U.S. innovators of all sizes already know what it's like to deal with onerous international rules. Many of our most productive tech companies are forced to deal with the EU's Digital Services Act and the massive regulations it created about taking down content and policing so-called misinformation. And of course, we want to ensure the internet is a safe place.
Okay, EU has a lot of issues. Not gonna lie about it. Fighting against misinformation, like, should be freedom of speech, right? But I was born in Czech Republic. When I moved out in 2016, I didn't have any issues with someone having my phone number that is not supposed to have it. Like, the protection of the private information in the EU is just great. And then I moved to the Middle East, to Canada, and I get the freaking phone calls every day from the number I don't know. I get text messages, I get emails, all of that shit. Never ever that happened in the EU. And to be even what's even crazier about it is, for example, in Canada, I never gave my phone number to anyone other than bank, workplace, gym. So how is it that everyone has the phone number, my phone number? I mean, obviously not everyone, like, I'm exaggerating, right? But like, the number of spam calls I receive, that would never happen in the EU. And yeah, so like, you should learn something from EU as well. It's not all bad.
But it is one thing to prevent a predator from preying on a child on the internet, and it is something quite different to prevent a grown man or woman from accessing an opinion that the government thinks is misinformation. Meanwhile, for smaller firms, navigating the GDPR means paying endless legal compliance costs or otherwise risking massive fines. Now, for some, the easiest way to avoid the dilemma has been to simply block EU users in the first place.
I mean, okay, what are we talking about, EU? Like, I was in Canada during the COVID. You couldn't freaking post anything about the COVID, because then it was like, oh, this is the misinformation and this is how it is. Some page where you get all the informations. Like, obviously I wasn't in the US, but I'm pretty sure it was very similar, especially on the Facebook, right? Zuckerberg just canceled all of these, fact checkers. So like, I don't know, man, you're complaining about EU, but you literally got rid of it only like 3 weeks ago. I don't know.
Is this really the future that we want, ladies and gentlemen? I think the answer for all of us should be no. Now, there's no issue where we worry about more than regulation when it comes to energy. And again, I appreciated the comments of so many at the conference, because they recognize that we stand now at the frontier of an AI industry that is hungry for reliable power and high-quality semiconductors. Yet too many of our friends are deindustrializing on the one hand and chasing reliable power out of their nations and off their grids with the other. The AI future is not going to be won by hand-wringing about safety. It will be won by building, from reliable power plants to the manufacturing facilities that can produce the chips of the future. Now, at a personal level, what excites me most about AI is that it is grounded in the real and the physical economy. The success of the sector isn't just a matter of smart people sitting in front of a computer screen and coding. It depends on those who work with their hands, even as robotics will change our factories. It will certainly make our healthcare providers better at treating diseases, but it will also depend on the data produced by...
Oh, is he really talking about healthcare providers? I mean, nothing against healthcare providers, but you can't really afford healthcare in the US. So, well, you're gonna have a little, what is it, from Fallout, Pip-Boy, that will tell you what's wrong with you. It's gonna charge you on the spot. I don't know, like I said, AI definitely will improve the quality of life. But if that's gonna solve the healthcare in the US. I don't know about that, man. I hope Trump will solve it. All of these insurances. Because, yeah, it's just ridiculous. For me as a European and now living in Canada, like just the idea that you're overpaying healthcare, like you break your arm and you might lose your house because of that. That's just ridiculous.
By those healthcare providers, by those doctors and nurses. I believe it will help us create and store new modes of power in the future. But right now, AI cannot take off unless the world builds the energy infrastructure to support it. Now, it's my view that tech innovation over the last 20 years has often conjured images of smart people staring at computer screens, engineering in the world of bits. But the AI economy will primarily depend on and transform the world of atoms. Now, at this moment, we face the extraordinary prospect of a new industrial revolution, one on par with the invention of the steam engine or Bessemer steel. But it will never come to pass if overregulation deters innovators from taking the risks necessary to advance the ball. Nor will it occur if we allow AI to become dominated by massive players looking to use the tech to censor or control users' thoughts. And I'd ask if you step back a moment and ask yourself, who is most aggressively demanding that we, meaning political leaders gathered here today, do the most aggressive regulation? It is very often the people who already have an incumbent advantage in the market. And when a massive incumbent comes to us asking us for safety regulations, we ought to ask whether that safety regulation is for the benefit of our people or whether it's for the benefit of the incumbent.
Here we go, right? Yeah, that's the thing. That's why the government needs to step up, create some laws or bills and whatever, just to make the best out of it while still protecting the workers. And I'm not saying keeping the jobs that are useless, that can be replaced by AI, but either UBI or just find a different job, different work. Maybe the education system needs to change a little bit. If you're not going to be able to give jobs to the people with low education, then the education should just adapt to it. Like, obviously, I'm all in for knowing history, geography, like everything that you're learning in elementary school. But then maybe the high school should prepare you for the life, prepare you for work life. Like for me, again, from Czech Republic, our high schools are already kind of guiding us towards our future. Like I went to the high school that was specialized in engineering, right? Like I know how to create blueprint for transmission from the car. I know how to create blueprint and count all of the forces for the lift, like elevator, right? Like that's what I've been taught in my high school. I never used it, probably forgot everything about it. But straight out of high school, I could have go to the industry. Obviously, school, industry, very different. But at least I had some basic knowledge. And now what I'm looking for, what I found out in Canada and probably in the US as well, the high schools are still kind of like general education, which is not bad. But if you don't go to college or university, what is it good for? Like you need some specialization, something that something that rewires your brain to think a certain way, right? Everything can't be just general, just memorize and then you have math and that's it pretty much, right? So with AI, maybe you need to look into education, how to prepare the future generations for their life a little bit better. There was something else I wanted to mention, but I forgot now.
Over the last few years, we've watched as governments, businesses, and nonprofit organizations have advanced unpopular, and I believe downright ahistorical social agendas through AI. In the US, we had AI image generators trying to tell us that George Washington was black or that America's doughboys in World War.
That's what I wanted to say. Regarding regulations, there should always be some like watermark or some signature that whatever you're looking at was created by AI. Like no fake pictures. Like that's one of the few regulations I would agree to, because right now we have all of these fake Instagram accounts, fake YouTube accounts, whatever, right? And some people are not able to recognize if it's AI or if it's real. And we're talking only about social media, but now think about scams and all of that. Like you need to have regulations on this, like have a little watermark in the corner. This was created by AI, right? Or something like that. What else? Yeah, well, let's just continue. I keep losing my ideas.
World War I were in fact women. Now we laugh at this now, and of course it was ridiculous, but we have to remember the lessons from that ridiculous moment. And what we take from it is that the Trump administration will ensure that AI systems developed in America are free from ideological bias and never restrict our citizens' right to free.
I mean, what is ideological bias or ideological bias? Like obviously this example, like you have real person, you can't swap the race or anything. But if we're talking about, let's say, God, and some people thinking that God is black, would this still be considered ideological? I feel like they should protect the facts, but the things that are not proven, not facts, subjective, whatever, that should not be regulated. Like you should be able to do whatever you want with it, right? Because I know it's kind of ideology, I think. But if it's not based on the facts or on the real person, go for it.
Speech. We can trust our people to think, to consume information, to develop their own ideas, and to debate with one another in the open marketplace of ideas. Now, we've also watched as hostile foreign adversaries have weaponized AI software to rewrite history, surveil users, and censor speech. This is hardly new, of course. As they do with other tech, some authoritarian regimes have stolen and used AI to strengthen their military, intelligence, and surveillance capabilities.
There we go.
Capture foreign data and create propaganda to undermine other nations' national security. I want to be clear. This administration will block such efforts, full stop. We will safeguard American AI and chip technologies from theft and misuse, work with our allies and partners to strengthen and extend these protections, and close pathways to adversaries attaining AI.
It's kind of hard to believe that, all of these antiviruses and yet you're still able to get the virus. I mean, I didn't get the virus for 20 years now, right? But that's because I'm smart about using my computer. But still, like, there's still going to be some scam that's going to get through it. I don't know.
AI capabilities that threaten all of our people. And I would also remind our international friends here today that partnering with such regimes, it never pays off in the long term.
Ooh.
From CCTV to 5G equipment, we're all familiar with cheap tech in the marketplace that's been heavily subsidized and exported by authoritarian regimes. But as I know, and I think some of us in this room have learned from experience, partnering with them means chaining your nation to an authoritarian master that seeks to infiltrate, dig in, and seize your information infrastructure. Should a deal seem too good to be true, just remember the old adage that we learned in Silicon Valley: if you aren't paying for the product, you are the product.
Yeah, that's so
Finally,
true, man.
This administration wants to be very clear about one last point. We will always center American workers in our AI policy. We refuse to view AI as a purely disruptive technology that will inevitably automate away our labor force.
Like I said, that's nice, but you're talking about your administration. Like, you need to make sure that the administration that's after you, if it's not going to be Republicans, will still follow the same guidelines, like that the workers will still be protected. Because, like I said, during the Biden's era, everything freaking changed. And they changed it without people even realizing. That's the scariest thing ever, right? Like, we were all preoccupied with COVID, all bitching about vaccines and censorship. Don't get me wrong, these are serious things, and I still hate on it. But yeah, like what they did behind, like how did they even manage to change everything like this? It's ridiculous. But yeah, like back to the topic, you need to make sure that even after your administration, those safeguards will still be in place, that the people will still be protected.
We believe, and we will fight for policies that ensure that AI is going to make our workers more productive, and we expect that they will reap the rewards with higher wages, better benefits, and safer and more prosperous communities. From law to medicine, manufacturing, the most immediate applications of AI almost all involve supplementing, not replacing, the work being done by Americans.
Yeah, like right now, I work as a crew dispatcher. Our system is like 30, 40 years old, right? My work duties are pretty much call the crews, do the reports about manpower, and just deal with whatever issues will come along the way, like some recrews and stuff like this. If I have AI doing my reports, which AI would be able to do no issues, I'm still needed at that job because there's still that human contact. But at the same time, it would make my job so much easier, and just the chance of me making mistake would be so much lower. Because right now I have, let's say, if I'm very lucky, I have only 7 reports today to do in my 8-hour shift. But reports are only like, I would say 10% of my workload. But because of the timing and everything, it stresses me out, and those reports needs to be done. But if there's something going on around that I need to solve, I don't have a time for these reports, right? So even though it's only 10% of my workload, it's still very bad because it needs to be done. It's one of the most important things. So if we have AI supporting me, helping me with the freaking reports that honestly you can pretty much do in Excel, just write a equation for it. But yeah. So definitely you can make AI improve the performance while still keeping some jobs. And like I said, hopefully if this administration will safeguard it for the future, the American workers might be okay. Hey, we're talking about JD Vance's speech on the AI Summit in France.
Now, combined with this administration's worker-first approach to immigration, we believe that a U.S. labor force prepared to use AI to its fullest extent will instead attract the attention of businesses that have offshored some of these roles. To accomplish this, the administration will make sure that America has the best trained workforce in the world. Our schools will teach students how to manage, how to supervise, and how to interact with AI-enabled tools as they become more and more a part of our everyday lives. And as AI creates new jobs and industries, our government, businesses, and labor organizations have an obligation to work together to empower the workers, not just of the United States, but all over the country, all over the world. To that end, for all major AI policy decisions coming from the federal government, the Trump administration will guarantee American workers a seat at the table, and we're very proud of that. Now, I've taken up enough of your time, so I'd like to close with just a quick story. This is a beautiful country, President Macron, and I know that you're proud of it and should be. And yesterday, as I was touring Les Invalides with General Gravette with my 3 kids, he was kind enough to show me the sword that belonged to America's dearest international friend from our own revolution, of course, the Marquis de Lafayette. He let me hold the sword, but of course he made me put on the white gloves beforehand. And it got me thinking of this country, France, and of course of
Macron is like, what the fuck is he talking about?
my own country, and of the beautiful civilization that we have built together with weapons like that saber. Weapons that are dangerous in the wrong hands, but are incredible tools for liberty and prosperity in the right hands. I couldn't help but think of the conference today. If we choose the wrong approach on other things that could be conceived of as dangerous, things like AI, and choose to hold ourselves back, it will alter not only our GDP or the stock market, but the very future of the project that Lafayette and the American founders set off to create. Now, this doesn't mean, of course, that all concerns about safety go out the window, but focus matters. And we must focus now on the opportunity to catch lightning in a bottle, unleash our most brilliant innovators, and use AI to improve the well-being of our nations and their peoples. With great confidence, I can say it is an opportunity that the Trump administration will not squander. And we hope everyone convened here today feels exactly the same.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
god, Trudeau on the phone. Like, what do you expect from that dude? Why is he even there? Oh my god.
God bless you all.
Represent, dude. Anyway, pretty good speech. Some takeaways. US is going hard on AI. Plans to protect US workers. Plans to be number one, obviously, right? Not gonna obey any EU regulations, which I agree with, because like I mentioned probably 3 times right now, not everyone's gonna obey those regulations. And let's say China, or again, I don't know about Russia and AI, but it takes few countries that won't obey a regulation and get ahead, right? So that's why you really want to just let US go. It's better when US comes with it than some communist country, right? He made it very clear that he's in there for American people, which, again, that's how it should be, because he's representing US. And it was kind of passive aggressive. It was kind of a, you're either with me or on your own, and don't you dare to be with my enemy. But yeah, like I like JD Vance, and the speech was very good and very clear. The intentions were there. He knows what he's talking about. They know what their plan is. So yeah, let's just hope it's not gonna go sideways. And like I said, for my biggest fear is that it's gonna end with Trump's administration, and then whoever's next is gonna just abuse it, change it, that it's gonna go against people again. But I really liked how he mentioned like the difference between corporations and government, that they kind of need to make sure that the corporations won't abuse the AI to just get rid of the workers. That's one of the things I wanted to hear, and JD said it. So great. W, good speech.